The planning board is mixed on proposed changes to zoning on Route 132 in Hyannis. The Community Preservation Committee approves funding for further renovations to the old Town Hall building. And we get the latest news from the Barnstable Police Department with Chief Paul McDonald. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, February 10th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mann. Members of the Barnstable Planning Board are mixed on proposed zoning changes in Hyannis. A business currently located on Route 132 near the former Ethan Allen building would like the area to be rezoned to a highway business district. Planning Board member Felicia Penn says she would prefer to see the area rezoned as a highway office district.
I would be in favor of rezoning this if we were to rezone it to HO, highway office, for basically the basic reason that it has better setbacks, I think, more advantage to the public, more setbacks, more greenery, no retail allowed. I would not want to see in future use of this property that retail be built out there on 132 at this time. Highway business allows retail. That's not on the list that we're looking at here, but it does if we look at our books. Highway business allows pretty much anything you could think of in the way of commercial development. Highway office is much more toward the economic development goals. Well, if you look at the local comprehensive plan that we worked on probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think it benefits the people who had the interest, the commercial bank that had the interest in this, and it probably benefits it's a reflection really of what's across the street also, which is mostly office buildings, a little bit of retail, but mostly office. So rather than give them a very open door that allows whatever, if somebody wants to go out here and assemble property and build a humongous retail store, a highway business will let them do that. And the price might be attractive enough for the bank to sell. I don't know. So I would be in support of HO as a rezoning, but not HB.
Unlike Penn, Board Chair Paul Curley supports rezoning the area to a highway business district.
Yeah, I think the opportunities to develop the area are better in terms of the public and its approach, and the opportunities to do some decent landscaping along there. So it looks to me like we're about 3-2 against. I'm more than happy to entertain a motion to not recommend it, if that's what you want.
Ultimately, the board voted to send a letter to town council stating that 2 planning board members are in favor of rezoning the area to highway office, while 3 members support rezoning the area to highway business. We, of course, will keep you up to date on the story as we watch it progress through town council. The Community Preservation Committee approves funding for 2 projects. One project would use just over $222,000 to complete Phase 2 of renovations to the Old Town Hall building. Mark Marinaccio with the Department of Public Works talked about the work that will be done in Phase 2.
Phase 2, we had structural engineer on the site, and of course being up on lifts you see a little bit more than what you saw originally to the building. Structural engineer recommended that the masonry be sealed as well as the rest of the lintels be replaced. And if take a look at the next picture here, you can see the cornice around the top is in pretty rough shape, and the arches over the windows are wood, and you can see some of the seams that are starting to open up there. So we're looking to once again restore those as well, similar to the portico. Here's a project budget. 38 lintels. They cost us $2,000 a piece for Phase 1, so that carries that number through. Hazardous materials, there's caulking on the building that contains asbestos that we'd have to remove. Masonry cleaning, masonry sealing, those are numbers that were actually given to us by the contractor in Phase 1 that we're looking to do a change order, but we couldn't afford it at the time. And wood trim restoration, contingency, and engineering. brings us to $226,781. That's what we're coming before you to request tonight.
Board member Sue Rohrbach says maintaining prominent buildings is very
I
important.
think that we should have this building look nice. I think it's like kind of the center on Main Street between that and the, and the green. And whenever you're out there and the weather's nice, there's people there, and I think it's very important that this building be, well maintained and
Okay.
look good.
The board unanimously voted to approve those funds. The project will now go before Town Council for final approval. The committee next heard a request for $62,000 to complete renovations to the Custom House in Barnstable. Marinaccio detailed what all work will be done with funds if approved.
Phase 2 work, what was planned was to remove the non-historic paint, which is actually latex paint from the masonry. That paint is holding moisture in the masonry and not letting it breathe. We're going to restore whatever masonry we found. We're estimating it to be 10 to 15% of the masonry will probably need to be replaced or repaired. We're going to restore the ornamental metalwork that's decorative on the exterior and restore the doors as well as the granite steps. We carried the granite steps as alternate number 1. When we had our pricing come back before the bid, we thought we should carry an alternate so that we could fund most of the project.
The committee also voted unanimously to approve renovations to the Custom House. The project will next go before Town Council for final approval. Well, a few big arrests for the Barnstable Police Department this week. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin got details from Police Chief Paul McDonald on this morning's show.
A couple of pretty big arrests over the past week as well. Tell me a little bit about, let's see, there's one that happened in Marston's Mills. Talk to me a little bit about that one.
There was a significant arrest. Mario Gatto, he's been on our radar for a number of years. We have a Superior Court case pending against him for distribution of heroin. Back on December 26th, he actually called the police department reporting somebody had broken into his house. When the officers responded, they found that the front door was kicked in. They called for the dog. They did their investigation as the K-9 unit was checking the area. Out to the rear of Mr. Gatto's house in a wooded area, they found 3 Tupperware containers. The Tupperware containers contained over 300 grams of cocaine and heroin and 1 firearm. The officers, they took upon themselves. They set up surveillance all through the night in the bushes, up in the trees. And they saw Mr. Gatto come out, and he was obviously looking for his product, the cocaine and the heroin. We then continued with the investigation. We sent everything out to BCI to be processed for forensic type of evidence. Mr. Gatto's prints were on the Tupperware and on the firearm. And last Tuesday, he was subsequently arrested for trafficking in cocaine and illegal possession of a firearm with defaced serial numbers. And he's currently being held on $10,000 cash bail. And his bail on the previous incident was revoked. So he's being held right now without bail, which is a good thing.
Right. So, Chief, this is not a stranger to the Barnstable Police Department.
By no means. By no means. We've had many interactions with Mr. Gatto. We arrested him several times, but hopefully he is facing significant time, up to 15 years in state prison for these charges.
Indeed. And did you say he does remain behind bars at this time?
He had been held on $10,000 cash bail for the latest case, but he was also out on bail for another Superior Court case. That bail has been revoked, so basically he's being held without bail.
Indeed. And then there was another arrest at
And of course, Chief McDonald is a weekly guest every Tuesday morning on Barnstable This Morning. The Parking Committee will meet tonight at 5:30 in the Growth Management Conference Room. And DPW continues to clear snow from the town's roadways. Yesterday, crews plowed main roads, secondary roads, and parking lot. Main roads and collector roads were treated last night, finishing at midnight. Crews were called in to treat the mains with a salt-sand mixture at 5 this morning. Intersections along Route 28 at Burses Way, Strawberry Hill Road, and Putnam Avenue were widened. Today, crews again are plowing secondary roads. Salt supplies are getting low, and with the salt vendor unable to estimate a time and day of delivery, DPW plans to make arrangements to pick up salt directly from the vendor. We will continue to keep you updated on road clearing efforts. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will chat with Register of Deeds Jack Mead. We'll talk with Director of Growth Management Joanne Miller-Buntich, and we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.